Good morning everyone and welcome to Mrs Beetons Adventures part 6, I think we are at now. We're going to make a classic favourite today from Mrs Beetons Cook Book called the roly-poly jam pudding. So it starts off with making a suet crust, which we don't have readily available, so I'm going to have to make that myself from the instructions for suet pastry. We don't have any beef suet here, so we're going to have to use chef aid. I've been told by the internet that that's a good enough substitution. And away we go. We have our flour, so we have a pound of flour. We have our chef aid, and we have our water to make our suet crust. So for every pound of flour, which we have here, we're going to add 5 to 6 ounces of the suet, so that's the shortening for me. So we're going to add this into the bowl. And then we're going to use our grater and grate the suet into the flour. Because this has to go in finely, the grater is a good option. I do this with my butter as well for my pastries, and it's a really good idea. Okay, we're going to add the water now to the pastry and mix it up till it resembles suet crust pastry. Okay, we've got half a pint of water. To do an original suet crust, it's quite complicated. I'll just read you a bit of it here. You've got to free the suet from the skin in shreds, chop it extremely fine and rub it well into the flour. Work the whole into a smooth paste with the above proportion of water, which was half a pint, and roll it out. It says this crust is quite rich enough for ordinary purposes, but when a better one is desired, use 1/2 to 3/4 of a pound of suet to every pound of flour. Some cooks for rich crusts pound the suet in a mortar with a small quantity of butter. It should then be laid on the paste in small pieces, the same for a puff crust pastry. Okay, so let's get to it. So we're going to add our water. We'll mix this up a bit. We'll slowly add our water. And you can see that coming together and making our pastry, which we're going to roll out for our roly-poly pudding. Yay, so here we have our pastry ball, and we're going to flour our board. So I've got this cool board that was made for me by my friend John for all my baking. It's perfect. We're going to flour our board and we're going to roll it out until it is 1/2 inch thick. Okay, away we go. So keep rolling that until it's 1/2 inch thick. Right, we have our dough rolled out into the thickness, and we're going to pop our yummy homemade strawberry and rhubarb jam all over the dough and roll it up. We're just leaving a little bit at the end to roll it up so that make sure it sticks to each other, and make sure it's coming off the board. Right, okay, so now we've got to fasten the ends and tie it in a floured cloth. Put the pudding into boiling water, and I've just got a pan I'm going to put in the oven for that one, and boil it for 2 hours. So I've just laid it out on some unbleached calico that I had, and we're just going to roll it up and tie it at the ends with some string. Okay, so seeing as my pudding won't fit into a pot because it's too long, we're going to put it into the oven. So we've improvised and we've made a baking tray here, and I've put an upside down oven dish in it, and we're going to fill the oven dish. We'll put the roly-poly on top and we'll fill the oven dish until it comes about halfway up the sides of the tin. Okay, we're just going to tie up the ends here. Okay, we've got to be pretty careful about this one. Grab our kettle that we've boiled and pour our water in. Pop our jam roly-poly on top. And we're going to pop into our oven for 180. Hopefully this works, it's a bit of a makeshift. 180, and then we're going to check it. It says 2 hours, but we're going to check it after 1 hour and see how it's going. Right, so our jam roly-poly is nearly finished, and what goes better with jam roly-poly than custard? So I've got a recipe for a boiled custard. It makes quite a bit, so I've decided to half it. We've got a pint of milk, 3 eggs, 3 ounces of sugar, and some flavouring, so that's bay leaves, rind of a lemon, or some vanilla essence. And it says a tablespoon of brandy if you're feeling that way inclined. So we start off with putting the milk into a lined saucepan, along with the sugar and the flavourings. So we're going to put a little bit of vanilla essence in. Okay, so it says to steep by the side of the fire until it is well flavoured, so we'll just put it on a low heat and bring to the point of boiling, and then strain into a basin. Just give it a wee stir. And let that heat up. Okay, so here I am stirring the mixture so that we've strained it and added the eggs when the mixture has cooled a little. Then placed it back into the saucepan over the fire, and that's my stove top, as you know by now. And keep stirring the custard only one way, she says. Okay, that's interesting. And on no account allow it to reach boiling point. After it thickens, take it off the fire and stir in the brandy. Make sure it's well mixed with the custard. You can put it into glasses and grate a little nutmeg over the top, and she says that makes the dish ready for the table. On a side note, duck eggs add very much to the flavour and richness of custards, but not so many duck eggs as you would use a chicken's egg. So 2 as opposed to 3 for this one. And if you want a very rich custard, you should use good cream as a substitute for the milk, and double the quantity of eggs used, only using the yolks. It takes half an hour to infuse the lemon rind and about 10 minutes to stir the custard. The average cost is 10D and it's sufficient to fill 8 custard glasses, but we are having this with our jam roly-poly. So, ladies and gents, there we have our finished jam roly-poly. I don't know if you can see, but there is steam rising off it. So I'm just going to let it cool down a bit before I try and open it up. I don't want to be burning any fingers at this stage. Right, let's unwrap our roly-poly pudding. Yummy. There we go, folks. So we're just going to slice that up and pop it with some custard and plate it up. Alright, that's us plated up and ready to eat. Yum yum. So it says that the time taken is 2 hours, the average cost is 7D, and it's sufficient for 5 to 6 people. Seasonable, suitable for winter puddings when fresh fruit is not obtainable. You can also substitute mincemeat or marmalade for the jam. So I challenge you to have a go at this. Bon appetit!